By chance, do you remember where you were when you found out Brock Lesnar was quitting? Because I know exactly where I was.
No, I can't say I recall, actually.
So I, at that point, had a Samsung flip phone, and I was at a bus stop next to my high school, waiting to go hang out and go to an arcade with a buddy of mine who was at another school. And I was just waiting for my bus, and my flip phone did have a web browser, and like I said before, I use Raja. And I saw Brock Lesnar quitting after WrestleMania. And I had the same reaction that the people in Madison Square Garden went. Obviously, we didn't have all the details we have now, but I thought, geez, what an ungrateful piece of crap. I mean, we all knew Goldberg was leaving because he signed a 1-year deal the night after WrestleMania 19. That means it's going to be over the night after WrestleMania 20. We all knew he was going. What a lot of people forget, and I guess something that I might as well bring up here, even though we've already passed it, Eddie Guerrero, when he beat Brock Lesnar, it was because of Goldberg interference.
That's right.
That part kind of gets forgotten. That Goldberg was the reason. So, I mean, it wasn't a clean win over Lesnar, although it was a damn good win over Lesnar.
Yeah.
But that's where this story pretty much... I mean, the story really began with a backstage segment where the two bumped into each other, Goldberg and Lesnar.
Rumble.
Yeah, when they were both champs. So actually, before the Royal Rumble, I think it was Survivor Series. They bumped into each other, and they both had titles. And... I can't remember if Lesnar cost Goldberg his title. I don't think he did.
No, Goldberg lost at Armageddon in a triple threat with Kane and Triple H.
Yeah, right. All right. But yeah, like, Lesnar antagonized Goldberg backstage at Survivor Series. And I think there was another thing after he lost the title where Lesnar laughed at him, but I need to go back and check for sure.
Yeah, I was at the Royal Rumble. Lesnar eliminates Goldberg.
Yeah.
Who came in at number 30, if I'm not mistaken.
So their story was longer than people would think, but at the same time it wasn't detailed as much as people would think, because this was basically all done backstage.
Well, this is an example of one of those, it's a dream match because there were the
big meaty men slapping meat.
That's right. Yeah. And, the biggest star, one of the biggest stars of WCW against, the next big thing of WWE, Brock Lesnar. So, I mean, yeah, on paper, it's a great matchup. Unfortunately, as you said...
This was a case where the internet wrestling community ruined the show, ruined the match. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't have the details of Goldberg's contract, and we don't have the details that Brock is turning his back on the company... And again, now we know what we know. We know about the addiction issues. We know about the bottle of vodka a night. And it's a lot more forgivable now. But back then, we just thought he was using WWE to be famous enough to go do something else. These two got rattled so hard by the piss-poor reaction they got, like from the very beginning, that they not only didn't... Like, when The Rock and Hogan didn't get the reaction that they thought they were going to get at WrestleMania 18, they put on a headlock and said, okay, I'm going to be the heel now, you're going to be the babyface, so we're going to change this. Yeah. These two were both, like, basically getting you both suck chants. Nobody wanted to see either of them. The only person getting cheered was Austin, as he's, like, waving at the two of them, and he's like, for God's sake, son, lock up! They didn't have a chance. And they knew, because Goldberg was obviously supposed to be the face, but any big move he hits, he's going to get booed anyway.
Yeah.
And because of that, you'd think you'd switch that to Lesnar, but any big move he hits, he's going to get booed anyway.
And I think there really was a sense of disappointment with Brock Lesnar particularly, because of the massive push that he received. And,
we thought he was going to be the guy. If he
and he was the
around...
guy. He was the guy. I mean, it's just to think that he would be leaving for the NFL, or he was given the world. And disappointingly, when he comes back, almost 10 years later, again, Vince throws everything at him. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why, and this is a separate topic, but I have never liked Brock Lesnar. I appreciated him more during the next big thing era.
When he was an actual wrestling super machine, yeah.
Yes. But, ever since the departure in 2004 and his return, and now he was booked as this unstoppable beast, and he was only a part-timer, I hated it from day one. And, I respect him as an athlete. Surely he is a great physical, athletic specimen.
Yeah.
But I don't like him as a wrestler. I don't like him as an entertainer.
How do you feel about him, knowing what you know about him as a person?
Well, even...
Because, I forgot. We should be saying Goldberg defeated Redacted by pinfall.
Yeah.
But,
technically, that's right. Well, even it just adds even more to my negative perception of him.
Yeah.
I have never liked him, and I jokingly, whenever I talk about him to Jim and other people, I call him, to Bork. Me, he's Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
He's Bork to me. I don't like him. So, yeah, I think it was very disappointing that he would have left back in 2004 under those circumstances.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is someone that we know now. It's like, we didn't know then, but we could have figured, he was someone that Sable was cheating on his husband with. He was someone who, after the WWE, at one point in a Minnesota Vikings training camp, a kid asked him to sign a poster. It was a WWE poster, so he tore it up in front of the kid and threw it at him. You don't throw anything at an 8-year-old. Now we know about the texts. We know about him basically re-signing with the WWE for that SummerSlam 2022 match, solely based on him getting a legal assistant as a prostitute.
In fact, he's even been criticized for agreeing to break in the streak at WrestleMania 30. If I know that there were other people that were considered to break the streak, among them Edge, Adam Copeland. And if I remember correctly from what I've read, Adam Copeland said, no, thank you for considering me, for offering me, but I don't want this. I don't want to break the streak, So if you call it humility, whatever you want. And I know that there's been criticism of, yes, okay, Vince decided the streak is over, but the Brock said, yeah, okay. That he took that. Did he deserve it? Did he really? Was he the guy that needed to take the streak? First off, the streak, in my opinion, shouldn't have ended. But
he shouldn't have had the match.
Was he really?
Because he would have still been the same super tank if he, instead of wrestling the Undertaker at Mania, say that one's completely off the table. If he had that SummerSlam match with Cena and squashed him with the 16 suplexes, he would have been just as fine. Beating The Undertaker in itself did get a lot of heat. Really, the person whose career it impacted the most was Cesaro, because Cesaro couldn't get ahead at all. His only push came from being paired up with Paul Heyman, whose job was to say, Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker. He's the 1 in 21. Oh, and I have Cesaro here. That was the only purpose of him being a part of anything there. But, no, he didn't need to beat it. With Lesnar, it became a footnote. It was not the most significant thing Lesnar would do. And that is not how... The Undertaker's legacy should not have ended on something that was not going to be the most important thing the guy who beat him would do.
And not only that, I think it's just, frankly, he didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
I don't think Brock deserved it. So going back to, especially, and we're going back to 2004. This is a guy who was given the world, left, and then comes back, and he's gifted.
Well, he came back, and he was there for 2 years before this happened.
Yes, it didn't happen immediately. But the point being that he was given this reward. Should that have happened?
And you know what? If this had happened a few years later, again, say the Cena thing happens, say the Universal title runs happen, because at one point he was champ for a year. Granted, we still hate him because he never showed up to work, but if he beat The Undertaker in 2017 instead of 2014, this could have worked. Because then we could say, but he's accomplished all this.
Yeah.
Then we could say, I don't like it, but we can't say he doesn't deserve it.
Or yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that could also be said of when he was the next big thing. He eliminated Undertaker from Royal Rumble 2003, right? He beat him in Hell in a Cell. So if he would have maybe defeated him during that period at WrestleMania, I think it would have had more lasting effect for the legacy of Brock Lesnar.
I only disagree because at that point in time the streak wasn't significant.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely.
That's the only flaw in that one. But yeah, good God. We've barely talked about Goldberg and Lesnar.
Anyway, yeah, so I mean, really, what is there to say? The match is memorable for the wrong reasons. The crowd gave it, let them have it.
Let's be blunt. They shat on it.
Yeah.
They shat on everything about this match.
And you know what? Deservedly so. I mean, it was even Goldberg. I mean, yes, he was known. He had only signed a 1-year contract, but it really seemed as if, he had come to WWE solely for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And, he wasn't there.
That's what it was, because it wasn't like he was bought out of his Warner thing. His Warner thing had fully been paid out to him. Mm-hmm. How to kill your YouTube channel in one sentence. I blame the wrestling fans. Because, again, without that information, without knowing about Lesnar's leaving, his resignation, without knowing about Goldberg's contract expiry, these two could have done their match as they had scripted it, and it would have been perfectly fine. And people would have embraced it. Here, they couldn't stick to their script, and they couldn't figure out what to do on the fly. They were stuck. And I blame the fans on that.
Well, it ruined it, certainly, because, again, we knew things that we weren't supposed to know. Mm-hmm. But once the cat was out of the bag, I mean, there was no recovery, and so...
Let's also give credit where credit is due. When they did eventually have their rematch, and I'm not talking about WrestleMania 33, I'm talking about Survivor Series, that was awesome. Yeah. It was 90 seconds of awesome.
Jim, I cannot tell you how just happy I was to see him Lesnar lose so quickly. I was euphoric.
See, I'm someone who...
I was euphoric because, as I told you, I hate the guy.
I think I disliked Goldberg more than I disliked Lesnar, personally.
Well, it wasn't even about Goldberg. It was just about Lesnar losing so emphatically.
Losing in a squash.
And seeing Heyman cry. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.